Welcome to Living a Life by Design. It's the journey back to you and living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. Did you know your accountability and possibility is by design? God designed a phenomenal life for you, gave you the gift of choice. Esther helps empower you to discover and pursue the purpose that is already in you. Are you ready to look at yourself and see your future? Then get back to what is really important in life and get in alignment with your true self. Stay tuned to Living a Life by Design. Journey back to you and start living 365 days of purpose with your host, Esther Graham. It all starts now.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Living a Life by Design with me, your host, Dr. Esther Graham. I am so super excited that you are here today. We've got so much to talk about as we have entered into 2025, and so many people are they're speaking about, what they're releasing, what they're adding to their lives, what they're going to be doing. They're setting their goals, and there's so much conversation that's just around what 2025 will look like. And so today, as we're starting this new season of Living a Life by Design, we've got so many things planned for you in this new season, in this new year, going according to the principles of living a life by design, which is your spirituality, your health, your wellness, your finances, entrepreneurship, business. If you're a CEO, there's so many things. Are you adding celebration into your life? And so we've got the different pillars of what living a life by design may look like for you, or looks like, right? And how do you actually begin to design and create that life that you want, and the life that really God has created for you to have and to experience. And so today, I have my very special guest. We've had him before. Many of you know him. Some of you may not. But this is my husband, Jon Graham. And I thought, how perfect to have him as the guest for the first show in 2025. Jon and I have been married this March. Will be 37 years that we'll be married. We're not just life partners, right? But we're partners in business, of course, in everything that we do. And as we're stepping into 2025, as we're already here in 2025, there are some things that we said, we're going to continue doing this together. Why? So we can see lives change and lives actually begin to transform from the inside out. And so one of the things that Jon and I do together outside of outside of
this
business,
community,
or what's that?
Outside of this community?
Outside of this community is really working together in terms of helping, as I said earlier, just lives transform from the inside out. So today, our topic is living a life by design and your spiritual growth, right? Many times we talk about spiritual maturity and or spiritual enrichment. And so I want to focus a little bit, because that's a part of the life by design principle, is your spirituality. And I also believe that that's also a very strong foundation. And the goal of this conversation is not to, it's really, the goal is to help you tap into where you are spiritually, wherever that is. For me, I call him God. Some people call him universe. Some say the source. Some say the light. He's all of these things, right? And we just want to help you tap into your spirituality and what the spiritual enhancement looks like, or what does spiritual maturity look like? And so, Jon, if you could just begin to, let's just kind of define it. what it looks like, and so we could just have a very organic conversation, because I think that one of the things as we're all in 2025 is that we really need to look at our spiritual foundation. And let me just add this too. So we're here in San Antonio. And we're here for a business conference. And when I tell you it is so powerful, very small group, very powerful. And we're talking about not just in this particular, we're not just talking about our business success, but we're also discussing where we are spiritually, where we are in our growth, where are we in our clarity, and really defining these things, right? And it's so important because as we're in Q1, we're in the first month, this is day 10, right? We've got time to plan out where we would like to be. And I heard one of the attendees say is that we've not really, the host, Laura Gisborne, basically said action steps need to be put on the calendar, not just put them down. It's not a to-do list, but what are the action steps that you're going to take in 2025 that's going to make some things come to pass in your life? And so let's just begin to talk about where the spiritual maturity, your spirituality comes into that, your meditation, where you can be very grounded.
Right.
John? Yeah.
Talk a little bit about the word itself, maturity, and maturity is simply development, right? You develop as you mature. You mature physically, you mature emotionally, you mature spiritually. You can mature even financially. In every area of your life, there's growth, right? And maturity is growth and strengthening. And the only thing that I think that wanes later in our years as we get up in age is the physical, right? So you're physically mature, but then you at a certain point you don't get physically stronger, but you can get stronger in every other area of your life. And in other words, you can mature in every other area of your life. And one of the things that we teach from our bishop as well is kingdom keys to maturity. You want to talk a little bit about that, or you want me to hit that?
I really don't want to talk a little bit about that. I'm going to have you talk a little bit about that. But
Okay.
what I wanted to say to that is that your spirituality is really strengthening the inner man, the inner person, the inner being. It's the strengthening of your soul. And I think that when we're looking at our spiritual maturity, we're actually looking at strengthening ourselves, that even in our weakest moments with
Right.
and maybe in our challenges that we may have, when we become to really focus on our spirituality, we could tap into that inner man, and that inner man will then bring out the strength, and so one of the things I think about when I think about spiritual maturity is really stepping into the inner man. And we could go through those 10 keys, but I just think that it's important for us to key in on which are the pieces that we really need to strengthen here.
Right. So first of all, this comes it's a concept that comes from our bishop Nate Holcomb and through our pastor Anthony Wallace. So kingdom keys to maturity. The first thing is, and again, we're not going to go through all of these, but one of the most important things is the first one, and that is to hear from God and to step out by faith to obey what God says. And the thing is that I believe that God, if we're listening, God speaks to all of us, right? He speaks to all of us. So in essence, you can hear from God, but then you have to make the decision to step out by faith to obey what he says. So sometimes, we hear from God and then we hear from people around us. We hear from God and we hear from our emotions. We hear from God, but one of the most important keys to spiritual maturity is to hear from God and to step out by faith to obey what he says. And what does that mean? That means, number one, you're listening for the voice of God. You're listening for that direction that's greater than yourself. And when you receive that, you process it, and then you begin to take the steps to step out, right, by faith to obey what you just heard. Okay.
So here's the question, however, because I'm sure that someone who's listening or will be listening will say, but how do you talk about, hearing what God says when he speaks, you listen. How do I know when God is speaking? How does he speak? I mean, because many of us were like, well, I don't know if God speaks to me. And we already know that God speaks to every last one of us.
Mhm.
He does. But how do we know that
Mhm.
he is speaking?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing. You can hear, and it can be, again, your emotions or something, something that you feel, whether it's anger, whether it's happiness, whether it's excitement, or whatever the case may be. And you can feel that. And when you can separate that from, wait a minute, something, how many times have you said to yourself, something told me to do this, or something told me to say that, right? And oftentimes that something is actually God. When you can separate it from an emotion, and when you can separate it from everything else that's going on around you, and it's like an epiphany that pops up, and all of a sudden you see yourself in a different place. You see yourself advance. You see yourself doing whatever it is that you heard, and you see that. That's how you know it's God. It's God giving you the nudge and the pull, if you will, because God never pushes you, but the pull, if you will, to come closer or to lean into here. And then
It's
when
like
you
he'll
begin to
pull you
focus in,
forward.
yeah, yeah, pull you forward, and then you lean in to hear and to listen. The more you search and the more you look for the voice of God. It's just like if you were to pick up your partner's cell phone, right?
Yeah.
And begin to flip through that cell phone, you're going to find something. Whether you want to find good or whether you want to find bad, you're going to find something in there. And the same concept goes when you're looking for God, you're going to find something. You're going to find him in some
Yeah.
way or form, some way, shape, or form. So it could be just, I feel this very, very strongly that I have to move, or this thought won't leave me, or these dreams keep coming. It's God.
Yeah. And there's a consistency with it. It's
Yeah.
just like you said,
Mhm.
you feel a pull, and the
Right.
pull is to pull you forward,
Yes.
right?
Mhm.
It's to pull you forward. It could be the pull to pull you out of some things and into something else, but it's a pull.
Mhm.
Let's take a real quick break, and we'll be right back to continue this powerful conversation about spiritual maturity, our spirituality, and where are we, and how can we be pulled forward for growth. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design. So glad that you've joined us today. I have my very special guest, my husband, my partner for life, John Graham. And we're really today discussing, our spiritual maturity, getting a really strong spiritual foundation. And so no matter where you are in your life right now, I want you to begin to ask yourself, where am I spiritually? What does my spirituality look like? Do I spend that time in meditation? Do I spend that time, um, uh, just alone to where I could tap into who I really am? And I think many times that when we're thinking about our spirituality, we sometimes get like really spooky thoughts, and it's not that at all. It's just very simple that your spiritual being um, is so necessary. Spirituality, by the way, is sometimes when you go outside and you put your foot and you get grounded in the sand or in the grass, and it's looking at the beauty of nature. It's just spending. It's mindfulness.
Right.
It's mindfulness. And so
Yeah.
we're speaking about, spirituality. And one of the things that John said earlier when I asked, how do you know God is speaking to you? And he basically elaborated on that. And he said, it's when it pulls you forward.
Right.
It just won't leave you. It's like, I know this is a call that's on my life because, by the way, we're all called to do something. We all feel a calling, a pull. And so, what is that? What is it that's pulling you to say, I have got to do this? And this is how you know many times that God is speaking. Sometimes it's in the nature, it's in that small, quiet voice, it's in
Right.
that dream, it's in, like, oh, wow, this just came to me. And we'll say, oh, something said, no, no, no. It's something, it's like, yeah, this is God just speaking to me, as some people say, channeling through me. It's so, so powerful.
Right. Right. So everything really, when you're talking about spiritual maturity and growth and sustainment, it's you can liken it to your physical body. Your physical body, there are certain things you have to do. You have to eat, you need nourishment, you have to drink, you need water, you have to wash, sometimes you have to exercise, right? All of those things you can also do, you know, to strengthen your spiritual position, so to speak. And uh we talked about hearing from God and having the ability to step out and obey. And then once you understand, or once you begin to know, okay, I know that voice. Now it's you got to trust that voice, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Trust that voice. Trust in God when things go wrong. And listen to this, people disappoint you and you're mystified and don't know why bad things are happening to you, right? So isn't it hard to lose trust isn't it easy to lose trust when things aren't going good? It's like,
oh, for
I don't know if
sure.
I can trust anybody, but you can
Yeah,
always trust God. You can always trust God. So when you can hear from him, then you can trust in him even when things go wrong and you can't understand why in the world nothing's going right for me right now. When people disappoint you, and how many of you have been disappointed by people, right? And disappointed, whether it's your husband, your wife, your friends, your family, all that thing. In some cases, we're human beings, so we can't be all that God is to each of us, right? And it's amazing that God can be all of this to billions and billions of people, right? And sometimes we can't be what God can be to one or two, and that's why we have to put our trust in him
yeah.
versus, right, when we put our trust in him, then we become stronger spiritually.
Yeah. And it's really good because trust him where you can't trace him, right? So sometimes you may be in a place where you're just not seeing God in anything, and it's not because he's not there. It's just sometimes because our perception, our perspective, things going on, we've got blinders on, and we're just not where we can feel him sometimes or
Right.
see him, quote unquote. But if we
Right.
can trust him where we can't trace him, like, you
Hmm.
know what, I'm not sure what's going on right now. Right now I don't have a clue. But what I am going to do is just trust God. I'm going to
Right.
trust the process. I'm just going to and I'm going to trust the promise, you
Yeah.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, I had God showed me something, and Esther, you're familiar with this because I told you about it. We have a cornfield right next to our house, or there was one. And from the ground, I got out of my car, and from the ground, I could see this cornfield, and it looked like they may have been about 6 inches, 8 inches tall. The corn stalks had begun to grow 6 to 8 inches. But then I went upstairs in my bedroom, which faces that cornfield, and and the Lord spoke to me and said, "Look outside." Right. So I looked, and then He said, "Take a picture of that every day." Right. From up here. Right.
Yeah.
And so I began to take a picture the corn growing. And after so many weeks or so, the stalks were like 6 feet tall, right? So I could not see through them. I could not see over them, right? When I was on the ground level, and they're so high and so tall, and yet still growing. And you know the saying, sometimes you can't see the forest because of the trees, right?
Mhm.
But then God said, go upstairs and look at what you can't see, right? So I go upstairs, I open up the blinds, and I look, and I can see the street beyond the cornfield. And God says, that's my perspective. That's what I see. So when you look for what I'm seeing, you'll see above and beyond what you think is blocking you, right? What you think is in the way, what you think is interrupting you moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. I love that. Say that again. So you took a picture, and I remember the story. You took a picture every day. And
Every day for 30 days.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
hmm
And what
And
was
the difference was that you see the growth and the progression of the corn from ground level, and from ground levels it seems small at the start, and
yeah,
then the more it grows, the more what's the word, overwhelming, I guess, or the more it blocked what I could see on the other side. But then God said, go up high and look down, right? And from that upper floor, I can see way beyond what I could see just on the ground level. So trusting God where you can't trace him. I couldn't see him in front, or not him. I couldn't see anything in front of that cornfield. But when I went up, I trusted him, and he says, "Go up and look." And I look, and it's okay, God, I got you. You can see much farther than I can. He said, "This is my perspective on everything." Right. So I'm like, okay, so I'll seek you for what I don't know. I'll seek you for what I can't see. I'll trust you where I can't trace you.
Thanks you. Yeah, I love that. I
Mhm.
love that analogy. Y'all, if you see me looking down, that's because I'm just checking on social media to see if anyone's commenting. Please, feel free to comment, heart us up, give John some love, and let us know if
Mhm.
anything is resonating with you. If you've got a question, just let us know. So when you see me like looking down, I'm just checking to see if there's anything that I need to answer or address. But thank you for joining us again. There's something that you said with that analogy. The other thing that I think is that sometimes you said you went up and you looked down. And I think sometimes
Mhm.
in what our perspective begin to change, for us to see some things differently, sometimes we've got to go up,
Right. Mhm.
right? We've got to
Um,
we've got to elevate, let's say. And when I
mhm.
think about elevation, I think about the perspective change, the rising up, right? And it's
Mhm.
something that is continual, it's growth.
Yeah. Yeah. And even in that, to me, I had to walk upstairs. So
Yeah,
you have to take steps,
have
right?
to take steps.
Steps to get to the place to where you can see above your issues, your problems, and all of those things, right? Where you can share, if you will, share your story without being in the middle of your story, right?
Yeah.
So you have to get out from where you are and get to a place where you can see outside of what's going on in your life.
Yeah, so powerful that you have to get to a place to where you can actually see what's going on in your life. And by the way, I want to add to that is that sometimes you can't see what's going on in your life. And so you many times need to surround yourself, be in a space, be in a location, go to a place to where you can step out of yourself and you've got the support system, the accountability, that safe space where you feel safe, that where you can step out of yourself and
Mhm.
say, I need to see. It's like, how sometimes you see some of the movies And they've stepped out and they're looking at themselves and they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. Like I look at Hallmark a lot during Christmas time, and the Christmas,
Yes, it does.
Christmas past, Christmas future, and they're seeing their reaction. They're stepping out of themselves and they're seeing what's really going on. And many times when you do that, that's when the light bulb comes on. So I think
Mhm.
what you're saying is that we can step up, right? Many times we've got to step up and step out of ourselves so we can
Mhm.
see exactly what is happening. Is that correct?
That is absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely on the nail. Then, another thing that we have to that we should look at is forgiveness, and that's a hard word for a lot of people, right? But the problem with not forgiving is, I mean, I can go deep into that, but let's just stick to surface. The problem with not forgiving is that it's not hurting anyone else but you. Really,
Yeah.
right?
And it's a part of your spiritual growth when you forgive. That's a
Yeah.
part, it
Mhm.
releases some
Right.
things, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Exactly. It releases. And if you're in a place that you want forgiveness, then you probably need to give more forgiveness. If you haven't received forgiveness that you need, then you probably need to forgive more. Right.
Well,
So,
listen to
it's a
this.
go ahead.
No, I was going to say,
Mhm.
so listen to this. This is powerful conversation, starting your 2025 spirituality, being able to forgiving yourself
Mhm.
and releasing others and forgiving them so you can move on. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to Living a Life by Design with my very special guest, John Graham. And we are speaking today again about your spirituality. So, John was speaking about forgiveness and the importance of forgiveness, what it does for you and what it does for others as well.
Right. Yeah. So it actually, when you forgive, it releases you of the strain of whether it's anger or resentment or whatever the case may be. And then you can get past that anger and resentment and use that energy for more good, to use it for joy, to use it for happiness, use it for helping. And sometimes it's not that easy to forgive. And sometimes we need help. We need whether it's counseling, whether it's coaching or something to help us to move past our past hurts or our current hurts. And oftentimes it's a voice outside of your own head that you need to really lock into and listen to in order to get past the offense, right?
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah. And when you talk about that,
mhm,
for me,
mhm,
I just remembered at one point in my life that I just really struggled with forgiveness. And
mhm,
that was really something that I had to work on. And of course, I had to come to the conclusion that forgiveness wasn't really for the other person.
mhm,
That forgiveness was really for me. And it was important for my health, for my well-being, for my success, not just in my personal relationship, but in my business relationship as well. Important for me to forgive and to release that person so
mhm,
I can move forward. And I think that's it. But it wasn't easy to do. So one of the things that I have found in my personal life, and it's worked for me spiritually, personally, it's worked for me in business and in everything, is going through personal development,
mhm.
right? I
Right.
think that personal development is needed for spiritual development. And someone's going to say, well, what do you mean? No, there's many people, right, that sometimes, you know, your connection, your spiritual connection, isn't really completing everything that needs to be completed within you. It's not that it can't, but there's this other piece, and that's the personal development piece, I believe, that many times, and I say this because I used to wonder, why is it so and so is going around the same mountain over and over again. What's the problem? What's the problem? Right? They're very spiritual, they're very this, they're very that, but what exactly is happening? And what I discovered is the personal development. And that's something that we don't want to do. Many times we don't want to go to a place where we are personally developed. And personal development is critical to our growth. Personal development is critical to our growth, not just, it's critical to our spiritual growth. It's critical to our
Emotional.
relationship growth. It's our emotional growth. Personal development is needed, but many of us aren't willing to go through that. Why? Because it goes deep.
Mhm. And there's some skeletons that you have to address,
Yeah,
you know,
you do.
things
You
that,
do.
things that are, that, and the reason I really don't like talking about skeletons, but when you talk about skeletons in your closet and you open that closet, something pops out at the most inopportune time, right? Like you go to open a coat closet because someone came to visit you and these skeletons fall out and that person's like, oh, is that how you do? You know, that sort of thing. So we're afraid that if we open certain doors, that those skeletons are going to come out. And sometimes you have to be willing to, when no one else is around or when someone's there that knows that you're about to open that closet and they want to help you to open that closet with them, and they can begin to help you to pick up the pieces, to whether you want to put it together or pick up all the pieces and throw them out. But you have to do something with the skeletons in the closet because you're afraid to open the door because you're afraid of the skeletons.
Yeah, yeah. And so, in the fast-paced world that we live in right now, this is where I think personal development comes in.
Mhm.
Because it really, as you said, those skeletons in the closet, and some of the skeletons that's in our closet, we're not even really aware of, or we are afraid to touch it. Not realizing that when we touch it, when we lean into it, that's where our healing really becomes very evident. It really begins to take place. And when we could go through a series of personal development, which is not one and done, right?
Mhm.
Then our spirituality becomes much stronger,
Mhm.
much stronger.
Mhm. Right.
Our belief in God, I believe, becomes much stronger
Mhm.
because there's been some things that we've kept and now we've unpacking them. We're unpacking it and we're getting cleansed. And so then that draws us closer. Would
Mhm.
you agree or?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You know, it's um it's crucial
Yeah.
and it's critical that um that we have a mindset this year not to be stuck, right?
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
And we, many of us have stuck points, places that we're stuck, and we have thoughts that are stuck in our head that
Yeah.
aren't serving us.
Yeah.
So, in order to grow or to become more spiritually mature and mature in every other way, then we've got to learn to address and manage those thoughts and to address and to manage those feelings that we endure. And I can tell you, Esther probably don't want me to tell you this, but she went to a retreat. It was a women's retreat, and she went to Bahamas. I normally don't let her go anywhere by herself, but I let her go this time. And she goes to this retreat, and then she comes back. And when she comes back, I'm looking around. She comes in the house and she's walking around, da 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 da. And I'm like, who is this imposter? Who is this woman? Right? I open the door and I look outside. It's like, it's my wife out in the car. No, because she came back, in my opinion, totally transformed. I was blown away, and because of that, I began to lean into this community a little bit more and lean into, the things that she was doing, because I'm like, wow, I better strap in, or I'm gonna get left behind, So yeah, so the retreat and that personal development. So Esther talks retreats, she talks personal development, she talks coaching, but she doesn't talk anything that she's not doing, right? So it's to me, it's like this is a must, right?
Yeah, it is. I mean,
Mhm.
you share that story, and I mean, and this was like several years ago when I went.
Yeah.
It was so important for me. And at that point when I went, I did not even realize the importance of personal development and the importance of going to a place. I went to this spot. I spent 1 week, and it was just totally focused on me and where I am. And take note, y'all, and I believe many of you have heard me talk about this before, but I went, it wasn't that I had a bad life. I had a really good life. My husband, everything was good, but there was something that was just calling me there. Again, that pull to pull forward. And so in my mind, I just knew I had to go to this retreat, and I go and I'm not sure what I'm expecting. But when I get there, the personal development, the transformation that took place really took me to the next level, even spiritually, right? And to where I'm coming back now and my relationships are better. And by the way, this wasn't just a one and done. There was a lot of transformation that took place in that very first retreat. But I've been back to several, and where now I even host retreats, because why? I believe in the personal development that leads to everything else in your life. And so I'm a big what is it? Promoter of that, right? It's just something that I think is just very necessary, that we do. And so, you talk about the retreats, and many people think, well, I don't really need a retreat, I don't need this, I don't need that, but I think that we all do, because it's a time really of stepping away. It's a time of stepping away in an environment that's curated for your growth in every area of your life. And I like to say in the life by design principles, which is your spirituality, your finances, your relationships, your health and wellness, your mental wellness, your celebration. How do you feel about you? Where are you in just different areas? Where are you as a CEO? Where are you as an entrepreneur? It's focused on all of these things that come together to make us the powerful human beings that we are, to where we can live our lives no matter what the challenges are, in joy and peace and happiness, being able to navigate our emotions, our finances, our spirituality, everything. And really, that's the importance of it. I'm going to pause for a second because we're about to go to another break, and we'll be right back. Welcome, welcome, welcome back. So we left the conversation, talking about personal development and the importance of it. And we ended with me speaking about, attending a retreat and even hosting a retreat, and and how when you do that, when you make a decision to where it's now time for me to step away, it's time for me to reset, it's time for me to look at where I am personally, it's time for me to look at my spiritual development. How do I do it? Where do I go? And so let's just start with there, John.
Yeah, so over the break, we were talking a little bit about this next thing. It's give, right? And people's like, well, give. I don't have anything to give, but you establish your living by your giving, really. So give. There's a principle, a biblical principle in the scripture that says, "Give and it shall be given to you, good measure, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. So shall men give unto your bosom." So basically, it's saying if you're a giver, then you're going to be a receiver. If you're a giver of great things, you're going to be a receiver of great things. But when we think about giving, oftentimes we think about giving to others, which should very, very much do. If you think about when you handed someone that Christmas present over Christmas or during Hanukkah or whatever the case may be, you handed them a gift. How did that make you feel? Right? You looked at them, and especially if they were excited about it, you looked at them, and you being able to make someone else excitable, right, was just does something for you. So when you give, right, consistently, that's what you experience consistently. But what's one thing that we leave out sometimes is giving to ourselves, right?
So true.
Give grace, give love, give mercy, right? And then give, in other words, invest in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because you invest in so many other things. Invest in yourself, invest in your personal development, invest in growing, invest in, whatever it takes to get you to a deeper, if you will, spiritual level, or to
Yeah.
get you to a place to where you're more in tune with who you were created to be.
Yeah. I love that, the investment piece, because we are our greatest investment, ourselves. Like, I invest in me. When I invest in myself, when you invest in yourself, then you become a better servant for
Mm.
everyone else, right? And so part of that investing, and y'all have heard me speak up about it before, is that it is necessary for me to serve from my overflow. I cannot serve from the same cup,
Mm.
right? In other words, that cup is
Mhm.
for me. I love coffee. I drink coffee all the time. I put it in a cup and I drink it. The cup of coffee that's in that cup, that is for me. That water, that is for me. But when it begins to overflow, then I could take whatever's in that saucer from the overflow, and then I could pour it in another cup, and then I could give it to you. So many times we are all serving really from an empty cup, because we are empty, because we haven't invested in our growth, in our healing, in our development, right? And so we haven't taken the time to sit back, to get clarity, to be still. We
Right.
haven't taken that
Right.
time. And so it's so important for us to do that. When I take the time, when I invest in me, in my personal development, in my spiritual development, my growth, and all of that, then I then become a better wife, mother, daughter, friend, CEO, business owner, right?
Mhm.
Everything. I become just better because I've taken the time to invest in me and to make sure that I'm doing good,
Yes.
right? Go ahead.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. And uh the the investment that you make in yourself, right, is, and if you find growth, if you find movement, then
Yeah.
it's well worth any investment that you can make in yourself. And when you're investing, you've got to stay focused, right? You've
Yeah.
got to know what your purpose is, right? Or in coaching, you can get there, and in just with some help, you can get there to basically know what your purpose is, or know how to get to your purpose, right? And when you're doing that, you can often be overwhelmed and become negative, right? So when you're focusing on your purpose, make sure that you stay in the positive lane. Make sure that you stay positive about everything that's going on and around you in your life, and um, be very gracious and grateful
Mhm.
for what you have and for where you are even now, and
Yeah.
then with a mindset for where you're going, and
Yeah.
keep gratitude in your attitude.
Yeah. I think I love that, stay in the positive lane, keep gratitude in your attitude. All of that is so important. It's so important as we are, fully in 2025, that before you go any further, is that take that time, if you have not done so already, and see where you are. Where are you spiritually? How are you feeling? Where is there that you could grow? Where is your personal development? What does your relationships look like? In your business, with your coworkers, where is it that healing needs to take place? What has to happen? And so as we're moving in through 2025, take the time to invest in you. Invest in you. Connect with me. And if it's not me, connect with someone that's going to give you a safe space to where you can grow. Go to a retreat. Get some personal development done. Invest in yourself and get a coach, get a business coach, get a personal development coach, get a transformational coach. Don't just get anybody, get a transformational coach and realize that you are your most important investment. Invest in you. We many times invest in somebody. We'll go get our nails done, ladies. We'll go get our nails done, this done, all these other things done. And we're looking so good on the outside, but in the inside still needs work. Take the time to get some work done on the inside. Jon, can you give us just one quick step as we prepare to end our time together? What's a quick step that someone could take to connect,
To connect. Okay. Well,
or what's the one step for growth in 2025?
Yeah, there's a one step. Well, I'm going to graciously ask for 2 steps.
Well, you're going to have to be quick. 2 quick steps.
Okay. So the first one would be to let go in order to move on, right? Because holding on to things will only hinder our growth and hinder our progress. So if we let go in order to move on, then we can jettison to where we need to go and need to get ultimately, right? And then decide to grow closer to, first of all, get more in touch with yourself, and more in touch with God.
All right. So we've got ourselves. Listen, don't forget to connect. Go to www.fddwomen.com and check us out. See what we're doing. I can't wait to see you next time. God bless you. Have a wonderful 2025 on purpose. Take care.
Purpose.
Bye, everyone. Remember to live your life by design.
You have been listening to Living a Life by Design, the journey back to you, and living 365 days of purpose with host Esther Graham. Listen or watch live every second and fourth Friday at 11 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com. Discover that what is possible is already in you. God designed a phenomenal life for you. Esther helps you ignite that energy behind your personal journey for a deeper joy and peace, living 365 days of purpose. For more information on living a life by design, visit fddwomen.com.